Hello everyone, today our group will talk about Chapter 3, Managing the External Environment and the Organization's Culture. A key to success in your management and in your career is knowing how to read an organization's culture so you can find one in which you will happy. Let me talk briefly about learning objectives. Construct the actions of managers according to the omnipresent and symbolic views. Describe constraints and challenges facing managers in today's external environment. Discuss the characteristics and importance of organization's culture. Describe current issues in organization's culture. First, let's look at two perspectives on how much impact management actually has on an organization's success or failure. Omnipresent or symbolic. The dominant view in management theory and society in general is that managers are directly responsible for an organization's success or failure. We call this perspective the omnipresent view of managers. In contrast, others have argued that much of an organization's success or failure is due to the external forces outside managers' control. This perspective is called symbolic view of managers. In omnipresent view, someone has to be held accountable when organizations perform poorly regardless of the reasons, and that someone is the manager. The symbolic view says that a manager's ability to affect performance outcomes is influenced and constrained by external factors. In reality, managers are neither all-powerful nor helpless, but their decisions and actions are constrained. Let's move to the next part, the external environment, constraints and challenges. The term external environment refers to factors and forces outside the organizations that affect its performance. There are 6 components: economic, demographic, political, socio-cultural, technological, and global. Although all these components pose potential constraints on managers' decisions and actions, we're going to take a closer look at 2 of them, the economic and demographic, by looking at how changes taking place in those components constrain managers and organizations. Then we'll wrap up these sessions by examining environmental uncertainty and stakeholder relationship. First of all, the economic environment. There are 2 types: the global economy and the economic context. The economic inequality and the economic context. The global economy and the economic context. The lingering global economic challenges, once described as the Great Recession by some analysts, began with the turmoil in the United States housing market. As credit markets collapsed, businesses were impacted. Credit was no longer readily available to fund business. Economic difficulties spread across the globe. The fragile economic recovery continues to be a business constraint. The economic inequality and the economic context. As economic growth has languished and sputtered, and as people believe that anyone could proper decline, social discontent over growing income gaps had increased. Business leaders must realize that societal antidote in the economic context have the potential to create constraint. The other environment is the demographic environment. Demographic age cohorts are important to our story of management because the number of people at certain status in life circle can constrain decisions and actions taken by business, government, educational institutions, and so on. In addition, understand how the environment affects manager is equally as important. There are three ways the environment constrain and challenge managers. First, through its impact on job and employment. Next, through the environmental uncertainty that is present. And finally, through the various stakeholder relationships that exist between an organization and its external constituencies.
Hello everyone, my name is Keith and today I will continue our presentation with learning objectives number 3 and 4. And number 3 is about organizational culture, constraints and challenges. And the first one is, what is organizational culture? Organizational culture has been described as the shared values, principles, traditions, and ways of doing things that influence the way organizational members act and that distinguish the organization from other organizations. And our definition of cultures imply three things. The first one is culture is a perception. It's not something that can be physically touched or seen, but employees perceive it on the basis of what they experience within the organization. And the second, organizational culture is deceptive. It's concerned with how members perceive the culture and describe it, not with whether they like it. And finally is the shared aspects of culture. Even though individuals may have different backgrounds or work at different organizational levels, they tend to describe the organization's culture in similar terms. And there are about 7 dimensions to define the organizational cultures that are attention to detail, outcome orientation, people orientation, team orientations, aggressiveness, stability, and innovation and risk taking. What is a strong culture? A strong culture in which the key values are intensely held and widely shared among within the organizations. And how can employees learn cultures? They can learn cultures of an organization from different resources, but the common ways are stories, visuals, artifact symbols and materials and language. That's the important one. And how can culture affect the manager of this organization? Well, a strong culture can affect a manager decision making ability like planning, organizing, leading and controlling. And that's the end of learning objectives number 3. We come to the last one, the number 4, current issues in organizational culture. There are different issues, but we come to the first one is to create an innovative culture, which can be characterized as the following: challenges and involvement, the freedom, the trust and openness, the idea time, the playfulness, humor, the conflict resolutions, the debates, and the last one is risk taking. And the second issue is how to create a customer responsive culture. And the customer responsive culture can be characterized also by the 5 elements: the type of employee, the type of job, environment, the empowerment, the role clarity, and the last is the consistent design to satisfy and delight customers. And the last current issues, that is spirituality and organizational culture. And we come to the term that workplace spirituality, a culture where organizational values promote a sense of purpose through meaningful work that takes place in the context of community. And there are about 5 characteristics of that. That is strong sense of purpose, a focus on individual development, a trust and openness, the employee environment, and the tolerance of employee expression. And that's the end of learning object 4 and my section. The other members of my group will continue with our presentation. Thank you for listening.
Hello everyone, my name is Lan and today I will present about the case application of chapter 3. The first case application is going to extreme of the Zap companies, which have the world's largest selection of stores and its service include free returns. Zap will take an order as late at midnight and deliver it to the customers before breakfast. It gets visitors every time. That clue to Zapdos true competitive advantage, its cultures. The most visible champion of Zapdos culture, naturally enough, its president and the CEO, Tony Hsieh, have made up 10 core company values. I'll pick up 2 values and show that I think is the most important value of the company. The first value is deliver well through service, and the second value is refund and little awareness. The CEOs are passionate, positive, fun, humble, and little weird. Early in his career, Chase had a breakthrough about how much culture matters to the performance and motivation of the employees. He saw a software company he had found when he realized that even he no longer wanted to come to work primarily because of the culture. But what really set Chase and his team apart of the depth awareness that culture is the company is the most important asset. Service is a byproduct culture. Managers attribute their loyalty to the culture, and that cultivates the passion, purpose, and humanity of its employees. But it's not just management that gets it. The conviction that culture is the key that is embraced throughout the ranks at Zapdos. The second application is not so about the manager of a movie theater. The external components may be the most important for the managers are economic components. The manager of the movie theater should know about disposable income of that people have. The second components are demographic components, by knowing the ages and group of peoples who come to the movie theaters. And the third components are technological components. That's because people are becoming more and more likely to watch movies, enjoy entertainment on mobile device or home theater platforms, such as some applications. The movie theater manager have to deal with the technologies. We can provide lots kind of entertainment, such as television, radio, mobile phone, and laptop, that can make people less going to the movie theaters. No technology trend will affect any decision of the manager, from staffing theaters to determine what and how many movies to show and when to show them. Stakeholder may be the most important to these companies. Customer, they are probably the most important who will make the decision about buying the products. The competitors are another important stakeholder because drawings in customer will be the latest technology or newest toy will be factories. Thank you for your attention.